Hello again, my name is Felipe Rodriguez, and I'm from South Hills High School, and I'm a junior, and I'm joined with my accomplices here. I would like them to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Ronaldo Martinez, and I'm a junior at Northside High School.
Hi, I'm Alma Briones, and I'm a junior at Northside High School.
And today we'll be discussing the program after the Great Debate, LDZ, also known as the Lorenzo de Zavala Youth Legislative Session. Now, now the program is the second program after the Great Debate, after the freshmen do their competition here in Texas. And the first question I want to propose is, what was the purpose of having an LDZ after the Great Debate?
Well, to me, having this program, the LDZ, is to help students navigate the system. Basically, it's like legislative, like it says in the name. There's a bunch of branches of government, and you gotta basically navigate it not just by yourself but with others.
It's basically an extension of the Great Debate. At the Great Debate, you learn the basic debating skills, how to project your voice, how to speak properly. And at the LDZ, what you learn is how to take those same skills and transfer them onto a real world situation. And there it becomes more real, you know? There's more of a competitive drive, and the students have a chance to navigate different systems.
I like to put my side of what was the purpose of LDZ. I think, in the Great Debate, we all are competing against each other, trying to go win the big cup, like the World Cup, except it's silver. So this time it's like a kind of a community of some sorts. We all band together to reach a common goal of some sorts. Now, I won't specify what the common goal is, but you'll soon figure it out. And I think it was important to have a program like the LDC to focus more on togetherness than individuality. And it's more better to have someone in your life than to have no one in your life. Because if you are in a situation where you need someone to help you out, it's very good to call up someone and say, hey, I need so-and-so, can you help me out? Rather than like, oh, I have to figure this out on my own, I'm out of luck, I'm a broke boy. So I think it was a really important thing to have the LDZ. Now, the next question I want to ask is, what did you learn while you were up there?
Oof, man, there's a lot of things I learned. Probably the most important thing I learned is that you can't change a lot of stuff by yourself. You will need help from other people, since it's really hard by yourself. You're gonna have a team, just like how there's no I in team. You gotta have a team to have a chance of getting stuff done.
Yeah, I agree with Ronaldo. I learned that you need to have people that will back you up on what you want to do. Not only that, but you also need to have the determination to pursue what you want to change. You can't let every single thing drag you down, or you won't get anywhere.
I learned the same thing like Ronaldo said. Being alone would be the most preferred as me as an individual, but I realize now that having more than one person at your side can really go a long way, especially when you need something dire. Because this ODZ helps you learn about family and bondage, and without that, you're basically nothing. Because everything in life, you need something from someone. And now, the next question I want to present is, how did the LDC affect you more as a leader than the Great Debate? Because the Great Debate, we're all debating, we're all presenting ideas out and being outspoken. But that was individual. And as we mentioned earlier, LDC was more of a community and family bondage. How did that help you more as a leader?
Well, in the Great Debate, as a leader, you had to in the Great Debate and the LDZs, they're very different from each other. Like in the Great Debate, I learned that I had a category which was just made by myself, and for me, I thought I had to do a lot of stuff by myself for that program. But when I changed to the LDZ, I soon realized that it's nothing like the Great Debate. It has to you have to have a lot of people with you in order to have a chance to go on and further go on.
Yeah, what I learned was that basically in the great debate, what you get out of it is basic skills. You're on your own. You try to get something on your own. At the LDZ, what you do is you learn to make a connection with someone else, and through that connection, you build a team, and with that team, you get to an end point.
All right. Same thing as a great debate. You know, in a great debate, someone knocks you down hard, and you have to get up from learn from your mistakes that you did, and you go on yourself. Sometimes you will have someone there to help you, but not most of the time. Great LDZ it helps you as a leader by getting other people's perspective on certain things. You know, you might think about something that what you see, you think this is good. Oh, I like this certain thing, but you don't think about anyone else. I think that's the struggle of leaders nowadays. They focus on what they think is right, but without focusing on the people. And we as a people should have our own say about how they feel, how this should be done, how should this be implemented in our society. Because if you do it, if said leader did something without the consent of the people, then there will be chaos. There will not be any real agreements going on. And I think that the LDC focuses on the different perspectives of everyone, and you should have that in mind every time you make a decision, because you don't know if that will have consequences or it'll help you in the long run. Now I want to ask both of you, how did you feel when you first entered the LDC, and how did you leave, and how did you feel like when leaving the LDC?
Well, in the beginning of the LDC, I was pretty much kind of terrified because I didn't really know what's going to happen. Everything was unknown to me, especially the first few days. Everyone also was lost, not just myself. But then once I left, I felt more, I kind of felt more sad because I had to leave everyone I knew or I was talking with. And we all kind of grew into a family between the beginning and the end. And I felt kind of proud to be there and participate in it, and less scared now that I experienced that whole system.
Well, when I went to LDZ, the main emotion I felt was confusion. I didn't know what was going on. No one would tell me what to do. All they said was, you'll figure it out when you get there. And of course that brought up a red light. Something's gonna happen. And I didn't know. And I was very confused throughout most of the journey. But at the end, what I realized was that upon throwing you into a situation, you need to learn how to navigate it. And I grew by that. I learned that you have to create connections. I was very upset when I left because, you build a family through this program. And I still talk to the people I connected with, but it's not the same as spending that time together. So what it taught me was to create more connections in my own community.
Yeah, well, when I first arrived for my LDC, it was kind of fun when I first arrived because of me and my friends. And just joking around about what's gonna happen, or oh, they're gonna do this or they do this, and we're just having many theories. But when we actually went to the actual program, we're like, oh no, oh crap, this is actually for real. We weren't prepared for this, and then we're just like kind of scared about what was gonna happen, because this was a new start of something new for us, when we weren't prepared. But at the end of the program, I come to realize that I shouldn't have been scared when I first entered. I should have been relieved that I'm doing this for a reason, and I'm glad I'm doing this, because this is gonna help me in my life, and this is gonna give me so many lessons I have to learn, some things I still have to answer to this day. And it sucks that we eventually had to leave, but making those memories will always stay there for us, and whenever we ever come back, if we ever come back, we'll make new memories, but the memories that we made there will always be there forever. Now, at any point of the program, did any of you feel like, this is too much for me, I want to give up, or it's like I'm feeling stressed or pressurized over some certain things?
I think there was. I think it was between. I think it was in the second day. I kind of forgot what it was, but I did feel pressure since I didn't really understand the whole concept of what we had to do, since no one really told us what we were supposed to do, and not just me. I also saw it in other people, since we were all basically there without knowing what to do, and it was a really hard situation. I saw a lot of people like struggling, even myself. We all struggled, but eventually we did overcome it by coming together and learn the system and how it works.
Yeah, for me it was between the second and third day. You know, I'd already been there a day and I kind of grasped what was going on, but all of a sudden they threw us into a different scenario. And like like most of us, I'm pretty sure y'all could relate, we were all scrambling around trying to figure out what was going on. And it was like halfway through the day that I realized I can't do it. I don't know what's going on. Other people were starting to grasp it, but I felt like I was kind of slow, you know? So I was like, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. No one is pointing me in the right direction. And it wasn't just me. Most of the people I had like started talking to, we all had this fear in our eyes that we didn't know what was going on and that we were going to ultimately fail. But I guess in the end, we kind of just went with the flow and figured it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically the whole entire LDZ in one word: go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, but soon you'll all figure out why. But for me, I think it was probably the third or fourth day. You know, we all went to different LDZ programs, obviously, but me and my group, me and my friends were in one LDZ in particular, and you know, you know, we're all together and we are talking about like what's going on, and like talking about here's what's gonna happen, this is what we're supposed to do, like you're supposed to do it at this certain time. Until it's like, oh man, how am I gonna do this? Like, cause like, you know, you're always busy and like you have to set certain priorities. And like, I was like, dang, I can't do this certain thing because I don't know how to scheduleize my time right. And so that was kind of a challenge for me to do, was to figure out how to do things at certain times, and what should I put first as my priority, what should I put last. And so it was kind of a new challenge for me to figure that out on my own. And luckily I didn't have to do that on my own. I had friends to help me out with that. And that's why I meant earlier with a community, build a community inside the LPZ. And so I felt a bit more better at the end when I was able to do the thing I was supposed to do. And it worked out in the end because it helped me accomplish something. Now I'm gonna go to the next part about since we talked about the what you felt negatively, like how we felt like giving up. I want to talk about what do we like the most. I don't entirely see.
Overall, I think I like the experience, since you first come out, you come in knowing nothing, basically going in the deep end of the pool without knowing how to swim. But eventually, at the end of the program, you come out knowing knowing more knowledge, basically. It also gave you, more friends, people from different states or parts of your state or region. And overall, it was great. You learn how people react to different things, and yeah, it's pretty much overall a great experience in my point of view.
Yeah, I agree with Reynaldo. I do think the experience was the best part of the whole thing. The fact that you go in and just ultimately figure everything out, but you're not alone. You have other people that are around you, and there's talking to those other people, you make connections, and with those connections, you build bonds that will probably last for your entire lifetime. And that's the beauty of the LDZ, that you go in not knowing anyone and you come out with an entire new family that you can relate to. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. You know, you're a fish out of water. You're basically out there to learn on your own. And the many friendships I've built over there, people never ever ever knew. I didn't know they existed. It's because of this program that introduced a new reality of that it's not just me and my friends in this world. There's more people that have the same ideas as me, but just in different locations. And being able to create networks with other people, and I could just come up and talk to them like, hey, how you doing? What you doing right now? Can I ask something for you in a certain place? That helps. That is part of the that's part of the LDZ process. Building relationships with other people in other places. You know, it's a session basically. What I mentioned earlier. You're mixing with many other people that are the same as you and has the same ideas as you. And it helps that since they have the same ideas, they can agree with you a lot of things, but they can disagree with you with many other things. And it's a great thing to have these debates between us two because we get to know each other better. And we can see what you guys think and what you guys think we can improve on. And now the second question I wanted to do was, what was your greatest accomplishment when coming out of the LDZ program?
I think I need time to think about it.
I think the greatest accomplishment I got out of the LDZ was the fact that I can go out into my community and create a change. That's an accomplishment that I never knew existed for me. Because, we're just teenagers. We're going to school, we're going home, we have fun in between, but you never really think about the impact you can create. And when going to the LDZ, that whole experience gives you a sense of accomplishment that you can go out and do something, create a change, and that for me was a major breakthrough for me.
Yeah, I think what she said earlier about making a change in your community. I think that me making getting ideas from other people and wanting to do something different and doing something at the program helped me be more confident whenever talking to in front of other people that have way more control than me, and talk to them about like what's going on like around us, and saying that let's say example like parks aren't the parks here are like not even built. Can we do that for our community and build a new park for everyone to enjoy? And I think from learning from the OZ about getting ideas from other people and expressing those ideas to higher ups, that helped me learn about how being more expressive and being more passionate about what you're proposing. Going back to right now, because I think he already had enough time to present his.
I do agree with both of y'all that change was probably the most greatest thing that we did. It kind of signified how not just one voice has the same idea, and if we all come together, we do eventually make a change. And we can use that in not just in the LDZ but in real life, since we all have different views about different things, but we also do have similar views. And without coming together, there's no change, just argument.
Okay. Now bringing back to our community, obviously, LDC is community, but how did this community help you with your community, building the relationships you have made? How can you implement the things that you did at LDC into this community that we currently reside in? Because we live here forever. Why are we living here for the past 5 next years till we actually go move on to somewhere else, go to college or anything else? But how can you make this community better than it is now?
I feel since the LDC helped us get in a group or create a group, we can probably use that in our community since they're in a political state. A lot of people are going against each other, but there's not really much of coming together. I feel like if we can use everything we learned in the LDC, we can probably change that and do something, make a change in our community for better, not just worse.
Yeah, and like we've stated before, the LDC basically helps you create connections and come together for a common goal. The people that have gone to the LDZ, they can implement that into their own communities by getting the support they need for movements that have been going on recently, And through that, we can create an even bigger impact in our community. Because we're the only ones that can change anything in the community. We can't depend on others to do it for us. So we need to like step up and actually do it. That's why we always encourage students to apply for the LDZ so that they can come and learn these very important skills that they need in order to be that change, to be the force that drives a new era.
Yeah, I agree with Alma. I think since we are the future, basically, it's up to us to make changes that are necessary in our community. Um, learning the lessons I learned in LDZ helped me a lot with creating new people, meeting new people at my school in Southfield. Getting these certain meetings that happened with my teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, with one of my parent teachers at my high school, Mr. Rodriguez, and making meetings for making meetings for new recruits for NHI Fort Worth, talking about each program, talking about Great Debate, LDZ, and what their purpose is. And that helped me to create these new connections with these new people, these new kids that I'm currently talking to, and the LDZ helped me create those relationships. Now I want to ask you guys a final question. So from going to the Great Debate, you guys were battling against each other to win the cup. Did you guys feel awkward coming to the LDZ and having to connect with people instead of depart?
Not at all. Actually, when I went to the Great Debate, although it was mostly a competitive field, I really connected with the people that went over there. I talked to them before rounds, or I just talked to them during our lunch sessions. It kind of transitioned into the LDZ, and it just broadened it. It's there, but the LDZ just made it grow.
Personally, for me, it doesn't seem that awkward per se. Considering that I actually met a few people from the Great Debate in the LDZ, and that kind of helped me a little bit since the LDZ, you don't really know where you're going against. It did help that, sure, you did have some competition aside from the Great Debate, but transitioning to the LDZ to having a group thing, it was better since you still have that that competition side, but now you're going with a lot of people now, meaning groups are going to compete with other groups for different views, but it's still basically the same thing, just in a bigger whole.
Yeah, I certainly felt a little, confused when I went to the LDZ. I was expecting to go against some people like in the debate style, but now I felt that I was welcome into a new community. People were like, "Hey, come talk to us. I want to get to know you better." And that kind of brought me to kind of remind me of a story that happened. It kind of reminded me of an event that happened to me on my Great Debate. That someone went up to me, says, "Hey, my name's Alejandro. Nice to meet you." I'm like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And I was talking about, I was like, and then it's like, "I hope I get to see you at my LDZ." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I was confused at the time, but I saw him again, and I was like, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh, it's nice to see you again." I was like, "Oh, I want to tell you a lot of stuff that happened between now and then." And I just want to let you guys know that don't be afraid to meet new people at the LDZ. Be encouraged by meeting new people and make friends, because friends are the best thing to have in this world. Without friends, you'll be alone. So, thank you for joining us for this discussion. My name is Felipe Rodriguez. I'm glad you could join us.
Hi, my name is Daisy Sanchez. I'm a Pascal at I'm a sophomore at Pascal, and
Hi, my name is JD Lopez, and I am a sophomore at TABS.
so today we're going to be talking about to what degree does academic rigor affect community leadership? Fabian?
Well, in my opinion, it really does depend on the student. I mean, I feel like every student prioritizes like different things. It really does just depend on the type of student. Personally, I would say it does. It affects it both positively and negatively. Um, Having the academic like background knowledge on different things that are occurring, current events, that really does help you when you're trying to lead a community that is faced with problems that are faced in the, what's occurring currently. So you do need to know that like knowledge. So it does help to have that knowledge whenever you're being pushed academically. At the same time, though, whenever you have different classes that don't really help you with leadership, instead help you with different things like STEM, I would say that when that does occur, it doesn't really give you too much time to be outside and leading your community when you have these type of classes like AP classes, dual credit classes, classes that really do take a lot of time to fully master different things that you're learning in the classes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the aspect that it depends on what kind of person you are and what you prioritize. Personally, I think what happens a lot of the time is that we're sucked into the competition that school presents, especially in high school with GPAs and high school rankings. A lot of the time, those of us who do push ourselves in terms of academic rigor and really try to stand out as academic students, we're blinded or we're blindsided about the other aspect about being an all-around well-rounded student, which is community leadership. And it's because of this competition where a lot of us are striving to be number one, and we become so consumed in that competition that we don't put importance on things that really we should be, or in my opinion that we should be, because school is definitely about the experience. It's about being a lifelong learner. It shouldn't be about being number one. Of course, it's a great achievement, but what happens a lot of the time is that we don't put enough time into things we would want to do or things that would benefit us in the long run, because we're so entrapped and focused on this one thing of being number one, taking all the AP classes I can take, despite the fact that my mental health and my social life may be put on the back burner. And time for my community and being a leader and developing myself as a person and these leadership roles all of this is virtually being ignored because of AP, IB, and just being so focused on that. I think that there should be a balance, and I feel like these types of programs like NHI, they value the academic rigor that students have, and at the same time develop us into fluent speakers, into influential people in our community, into students that can do a change as small or big as it may be, and just really encouraging us to take that position as a leader. What would you say is the hardest thing about having that balance? Why do you think a student might just ignore it?
I would say maybe like their ego and their like confidence, like it might like erode their confidence knowing that, I'm not the best because, whenever I check my ranking, it doesn't say number one, so I'm not the best. I'm like inferior to someone on an academic basis, and I guess lots of people, they feel like they should feel superior. I mean, there are people that are like really competitive. I feel like, that would be one of the characteristics that I have, to be competitive. It is hard to find that balance, but I definitely do think it's necessary. I mean, that's one of the things colleges do look into, like somebody who has that balance, somebody who's not that can be pushed that can be pushed academically, and who can also be involved with other programs that can be involved in the community, just doing different things the community service hours, being compiled up. Colleges do against that nowadays, and like I said, the degree that it affects should definitely be valid. Like it should be. Let me break this. It shouldn't.
There should be a time for it.
Yeah, there should be a time for it. Like it should affect it, but not fully. There should definitely be like a compromise between the two. You should definitely put a lot of time towards your academics. That's really important. And it also does help you become a leader. And being a leader can also help you in the classroom. Leading other students. Whenever you do lead other students, it does help you learn better whenever you're a leader, in my opinion. It's just my personal opinion. That's why it is very important to have that balance. I do feel like I'm one of those students that, they do feel a bit bad whenever they aren't, ranked number one. That confidence does come in. That ego does come in when you're like, your conscience just tells you, this is not where I should be. I'm number one. I don't want to be inferior to anybody. I don't want to feel like that. And I feel like I do feel like that a lot of the time. But, you do have to like sometimes just take that pressure off of you. I do feel like I do put that pressure on me constantly about me having to be like one of the best, if not the very best in my class. And
yeah. And I have to say that because we're, again, with the whole competitive thing going on, those of us are people who just want to get there. They become the just overall the time and just everything is spent on reaching that one goal that in reality isn't gonna necessarily do anything for you in the future. I've had an experience where I was so close to being there, and then I was doing things, taking classes that weren't necessarily 5.0s, but they were classes that were helping me develop as a person, as a speaker, and I was to the point of dropping them because I wanted to be number one. And I sat down with someone, and they were talking to me about this, and he explained that it's a game, it really is. And he told me, he was like, I was valedictorian of my class, and I've never had to say that in 30 years. Because in the real world, nobody really cares that you're a valedictorian or whatever it may be. It's about who you are and what contribution you as your character, you as a person can make on the world. And being academics, they do affect community leadership, and it can be really in a negative or a positive way. Like we mentioned before, it really just depends on the person. I think some of us are ignorant in terms of that, and we just see academics as the only road to success. So we don't spend time on becoming a leader in our community. We don't spend time on doing any good for our community, really. And we often just keep on this road to success in academics and do it for ourselves. And it's selfish, and it happens, unfortunately, because we've been taught that that's the only way of guaranteed success. You just have to do super great in school and you can become anything you want. And yes, it's true, it's important, but because of that, we lack the commitment to our community. We lack the commitment to the people who were able to push us to have that mindset of like, yeah, you can do anything you want through education. And it's unfortunate, but it happens. That's why, like we say, it really depends on the student. Those of us who are more, I think I was in a battlefield between that of just wanting to focus on academics and not really putting that much attention on the valueless things. And I had to battle between that, and ultimately I came to the conclusion that school isn't about, or shouldn't take away from being passionate about something, about helping others, and about being that help and becoming a leader.
Yeah, like you were saying, like in the real world, like just in life in general, your GPA is not gonna always matter. I think the thing is, we aren't always like told that we're influenced by our schools, that academics is everything. But in reality, it is all about the balance. I mean, you have to have the academics and just in life in general. You have to have leadership skills. You have to be able to fulfill your role in your community. We're just not told enough, and that's why it does depend on the student, because still some students might they might start questioning the system. Let's take somebody like that, like, oh, why does this matter so much? It does take a different student. Maybe if somebody's more like closed-minded, they might not be open to that fact of, oh, school is everything. School isn't everything; it's the only thing. It's something that they might catch themselves saying a lot or thinking a lot in their conscious, and that's why they need to be influenced more to lean towards both. Doing things outside the community and also doing stuff in school, working. Even in school, you can be involved. It doesn't have to necessarily be outside of school. Things you're involved in school, is helping your community in general in school. And that's why it just depends on the student. I mean, if a student leans more towards being in different programs that maybe help them develop things that help them with leadership, that's a student that would fall into that category that has a balance, because they want to be out there. They're social. They want to develop different skills, so they might catch themselves going into clubs like debate, speech. Speech can also be a class. They might lean towards taking that class, even though, of course, it might not help their GPA. They're like, oh, this is helping me with other aspects of becoming a person, just in general. And that's just something that, as a person, academics isn't always gonna affect you. It's not very good to just always be in your academics as a person. You have to have that balance. You have to know how to be social. Can't be shy around other people. Can't be awkward around other people in life. You're gonna have to need those two skills, and that's why it's gonna need that balance. It's gonna take that student with the balance. That's gonna be like that when they grow up. That they're gonna have the balance of being a leader and being good in school, having the intellect, because they were closed-minded and they put it upon themselves that, oh, I'm gonna do both because this is how things really should be.
Yeah, can I just say, sometimes I feel like shyness is a part of a person's personality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because I consider myself a timid and shy person, but I think it just comes down to being involved in other stuff that gives you the extra push, and you yourself having to motivate yourself, being self-determination to get out of the shell sometimes and truly voice your opinion and say what you want to say, and not having that fear anymore of voicing your opinion. Because definitely, I still consider myself a timid person, but when it comes down to something I'm passionate about, when it comes down to I see someone doing something wrong, I see something wrong happening, I do not bite my tongue to being like, hey, what's up with this? And I think that skill that I have of being able to garner my passion into speaking and just voicing my opinion really comes from being able to have been a part of community leadership building programs like NHI. And honestly, it's just something within. I still have that academic rigor present, but I do find that balance of being able to take this many classes, maintaining this grade average, while at the same time being involved with my community and making the effort that I have to do to better my community. Not because it looks good on colleges, like college apps, or because that's what they're telling you to do. If you want to go to an Ivy League, just take all these extracurriculars. It's really about finding your passion, and it's really about finding something that you truly believe in. And I think that the reason why I can find that balance is because NHI is something that I truly believe in. Had it not, I don't think I would be had it not been this program that influenced me to step out of my shell, I don't think I would be the person I am today. and I don't think that academic rigor and community leadership would go so hand in hand as it does in my life. And like we've already mentioned countless times before, it really just depends on the student. There's kids who can be involved in programs, but because it's not something that they're passionate about, it's not a message that they believe in, they just may not be clicking with it and really finding that value in community leadership. And because they're so enraptured in the competition, the being number one, having the best grades, because that's what values, or that's what normally society would value in a person, would be their education and all of that. But when it comes down to it, I mean, you see people like Cesar Chavez and Martin Luther King Jr., and I mean, none of us know if they were valedictorians of their high schools, but what we do know is that there's such influential people in the community and in the building of this nation as a whole, and it just goes to show, like, you don't necessarily, like, we just don't know, like, being valedictorian and having the academic rigor doesn't really pay off at the end of you as a person. It's not really going to dictate how far you go. Of course, it does have an effect on what colleges may accept you or stuff like that. But really, when it comes down to it, we see these like really important historical figures, and none of us are like, oh yeah, they were valedictorian of their high school. It's just, yeah, it's the things that should be important that we kind of just brush over because we're so focused on the academic rigor, and keeping up with it definitely is what affects it too. How do you feel that being an AP student and being a part of, or taking your time to be a part of programs like NHI, how do you think that, do you think it's harder? Do you think it's easier because you're passionate about it, or how do you feel?
I mean, like, I feel like oftentimes, I think just in general with lots of students, the academic rigor, it like prevents them from really finding what they're passionate about. I mean, they don't really have like time to be thinking about, oh, you know, what am I passionate about? All their focus is on, you know, hitting books, studying things, mastering different concepts. I feel like once you do find that passion, I feel like it's not as hard to balance the two whenever you do find that passion, because you prioritize your time better. You're like, oh, well, I'm passionate about this program like NHI, so I'm going to set aside my time in order to go to meetings, in order to plan different stuff out. You know, it's not as hard because they have that like motivation that they know that, you know, they believe in that and they enjoy doing that. So they're gonna, at the end of the day, they're gonna do it because, you know, even though they have the academic rigor may be overwhelming, they're gonna find the time. Like, they're gonna put it up on themselves to do that because they want to be in their programs and stuff like that. And I feel like whenever that occurs, that's the degree. That's when the degree diminishes of how much it affects community leadership. Whenever you find what you're passionate about, you are at the right degree. Like, you have the academic rigor isn't affecting you as much because you're setting aside time to do different stuff and you're prioritizing your time to efficiently do all your work. And that's why whenever you have that passion and you know what you want to do, and you know you're gonna, at the end of the day, you know you're gonna put time towards doing that, the degree is just no longer there. It doesn't affect it as much anymore because you're doing both and you're doing it right. Earlier you were talking about, oh, I'm passionate about, I voice different things whenever it's something that I see that's wrong and something that I just don't agree with. And that's whenever academic rigor does somewhat help you, whenever being an intellect helps you, because like helps you know what's wrong and what's right. Um, you know, looking through like historical events, having that background knowledge really helps you distinguish between the two, the right and wrong, what's morally correct, what's morally not correct, and you know, that academic rigor definitely does play a role in somebody's perception of what's good and what's wrong.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think it's more of having that academic rigor teaches you how to articulate yourself, like having a broad vocabulary, and yes, being able to use historical examples, because you learn that in school and you learn vocabulary in school. The moral thing, I would say that's kind of more of a beliefs thing, but in general, I really did relate with what you said, because I think what it comes down to is being able to make a choice. Like, what am I going to put priority to and why? When it comes to like being passionate about it, I think the big thing about it is that since you're passionate, you do it willingly. You do it because you want to, and it's not just like I have to go do this thing because I signed myself up for it. It's more of, yes, I love doing this thing. I enjoy being a part of it. And I think that the degree that you're talking about, like to what degree does it affect community leadership? Once you make that choice, it doesn't affect it because you find the balance. Once you decide either I'm gonna stick to academic rigor and just, you know, do that, it of course prevents you from doing it, and it's unfortunately what happens a lot of the times, that we're so focused on school and the time that we put into school, even when we're outside of school, it really takes up most of our day, most of our week, and we just don't find, we tell ourselves that we don't find time for these other things, for being a leader in our community, and it just happens so often, and it's a shame, really. But once, like I mentioned earlier, I was like at a crossroads. Like, what was important to me? Once you make that choice and once you make that distinction of, okay, I enjoy doing this, and I'm not going to sacrifice myself on something that's going to be momentary and it's going to vanish. And in reality, no one is going to be like, oh wow, you were valedictorian of your high school. That's so cool. It's once I made my mind up, and I think this goes for a lot of other people, once you make that choice of being able to balance it and like putting, you know, community leadership and recognizing its importance, then it's a lot easier to balance it. And there is no degree to which it affects it, because you can balance both of them, and you can handle both academic rigor and being a leader in your community and the time that it takes doing that because of the passion that you have in it. Is there anything else that you would like to add in?
I would say that like programs like, you know, NHI, for example, I feel like lots of people may find like their goal, they might find that something they can't identify with, something they agree with, like, oh, being the leader in my community. I feel like programs like NHI should be put out there more, so that, you know, influences from school won't be the primary thing, or like the only thing that these kids are, you know, exposed to. They need to be exposed to different things, you know, other programs that will push them towards being a community leader. And lots of the time, that's something that that's where others might find their passion for different things, and that's where they find their motivation to go to, you know, different programs. It just needs to be put out there. Programs with the goal, programs that are like bold enough to notice that there are problems in our society, and programs that are looking for people that are able to effectively be able to dismantle or degrade some of these problems. And, you know, it just really just, the influences just need to be there for these students. You know, they are at school for 8 hours a day, or maybe a little less, maybe a little more. You know, the only thing they're exposed to most of the day is school, and then when they come home, like, they have to focus on projects or homework Lots of the time they don't have time to be, looking for these programs. That's why these programs maybe need to be displayed more in school. Maybe different presentations that could present them to them. It also just depends on like the student, like how much they do care about the community. Like academic rigor is gonna completely downgrade the importance of community leadership for students that don't really find it too significant to themselves. Like it's not something that they identify themselves to.
Yeah. I
so,
think.
yeah.
Sorry for cutting you off, but what I wanted to say is that I think this, like having to identify with the program is what's so important because, like us, like we're young Latinos and we're a part of the National Hispanic Institute because its message just hits so close to home because we're able to relate with it and we can find that it's much easier for us because we know that the service that we're doing is for our community. And it's for our roots specifically, which is why background also has a lot to do with how much you're willing to put forth into really building up your community and really contributing your time to it. Yeah. Overall, I think that this conversation has been really great. I think we both have been able to assess the issue of what happens when academic rigor and community leadership combine, and I feel like overall, to be a well-rounded person, you should have a little bit of both. Thank you.